This is a test of the City of Plaque audio system.
Welcome to the City of Palaca Special Call Commission meeting on August 6, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. Ms. Krantz, could you read the notice, please?
Thank you so much. The Commissioners Tammy McCaskill, Justin R. Campbell, Will Jones, and Rufus Borum. You're hereby notified that a special called meeting of the Palaca City Commission is hereby called to be held on August 6th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall, 201 North Second Street, Palaca, Florida 32177. The purpose of the meeting is regarding the items tabled at the Commission's July 25th special called meeting. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Signed, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor.
Thank you. Is Pastor Mulberry? No. Invocation. Thank you, Commissioner Campbell.
If you would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your grace and we thank you for your mercy. God, we ask as we go forth with this meeting that you give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to make the best decisions. We also ask that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. We pray this prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Krantz, roll call, please.
Commissioner Tammy McCaskill.
Here.
Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
All
Thank
members
you.
present and accounted for, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor to public comments. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes and no action will be taken on the items. Public comment is an opportunity for citizens to voice their thoughts and concerns on non-agenda topics to the commission. This will be done in a respectful manner without personal defamation and is not an opportunity for discussion or debate. I do have one card, Ms. Shanker. Please give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Schenker. My place of residence is 287 East River Road in East Palaca, and my place of business is 712 St. John's Avenue in historic downtown Palaca. I'd first like to state that this format of taking public comment at the beginning of the agenda impedes the public from responding appropriately to timely matters such as tonight's agenda item. Essentially, the public has to offer comments responding to issues that were discussed in the last meeting on this topic. And most of your constituents do not have the luxury of the kind of time it takes to keep up with these topics. That leaves the public with the skewed views and incomplete stories published in our local paper or bantered about on social media. We're left with stories of disgruntled employees writing letters to our city commissioners, but not the pre-story of how the commissioners were so eager to get the new city manager in place so that he could dismiss the troublesome employee. Stories and commentary of blatant disregard of the commissioners by removing GPS trackers, but not the background of how there has never been a GPS tracker put on a city vehicle for an employee at this level, especially one that's taken home to a family home or kept in a personal location and public records are made of this. Nor the follow-up story of the GPS tracker being replaced by Mr. Bell while the matter is reevaluated. We are left with unflattering images, stories, and innuendos using words like absenteeism, hostile work environment, and utter contempt for the commission and its authority. All the while, we have diligent commissioners bringing up that there has been no overusage of the days off by Mr. Bell according to his contract. And as of the last meeting on this matter, there had been no filed grievances with HR about Mr. Bell, and that it was our elected officials disregarding Mr. Bell's attempts to fulfill their requests for time in meetings. But that wouldn't make a very good headline, apparently. The last time I spoke to this commission, a resident ahead of me quoted a Kenny Rogers song, and I have been cursed with it running through my head ever since. But I truly believe we have missed the most important message from the song, because every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser. If we play our cards right, Mr. Bell has the ability to help Palaca reach all of its current goals and help set new goals for our future. We can all win. When we get past this probationary period, perhaps we can become vested in his success rather than in looking for reasons for a dismissal. When we stop trying to find or make this a losing hand, we might actually realize that Mr. Bell is an ace that we can keep.
Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing no one close the comment and on to regular business. Discussion, direction.
Mayor Cray, I'm so sorry. I know it's past the time for public comment, but I did just receive a yellow speaker's card from the finance director. It's got public comment on agenda item topic blank. So I don't know if it's for a regular public comment or for a specific topic.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Spell, sorry, because I didn't get this in time.
I would like to.
No, you please come up to the podium and give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is
You
Jacob,
want to pass? I'm
Jacob
sorry.
Spells, 5019 Creel Avenue.
Okay, and you would like to pass?
Yes, I would like to pass on that until the end of the meeting because I want to hear the contents of everything that's being said in this meeting, which then I would like to present my comments. Can I do that?
Public comments on now, but because the
I
topic,
can't understand you.
public comment is open now and actually just closed. Because there are specific topics, we will consider that at that time. Let's see how the meeting goes. Mr. Spell.
Now, will I have the opportunity or the luxury to speak after the business at hand has been taking place?
Again,
Seem like I should be granted that opportunity.
according to the agenda, public comment was now. If you want to speak later, I'm not sure that will work out, but we'll have to see what the topics are and how it goes.
I certainly would appreciate it. Thank you.
For point of clarification, there is an opportunity for discussion or public comment. Is there not during the actual items that are being discussed?
There are, this is for, the public comment now is for non-agended items.
Well,
And so I'm just saying the public comment is closed. So that will provide the opportunity because we are on one topic, we haven't got a full agenda.
and I think that's what he's asking.
Okay, so yes.
Okay,
Short
thank
answer is
thank
yes,
you.
I'm sorry. On to regular business, discussion direction, authorizing the execution of retained agreement with the firm Sniffen Spellman. Ms. Krantz, could you read it, please, first? before we
Certainly,
move
thank you
forward?
so much. Resolution 2024 R153, a resolution of the city of Palaca authorizing the execution of retention agreement with Sniffen and Smellman, PA for the purpose of an employment investigation, amending the fiscal year 2023-24 budget, providing an effective date and providing for scrivener's errors.
Thank you. Ms. Commissioner McCaskill, I'm going to turn it over to you as the point person, and then we can go from there.
Prior to with giving the content of what we're about to discuss and how we did it last time with respect to Mr. Bell, would like to hear if the commission wished him to be present with regards to this particular matter, as he was not a part of this particular discussion when we previously brought this to the commission.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bell, could you please excuse yourself and go out the door to the right, please?
My question
Is that proper?
Why is he leaving?
I just asked, I didn't ask him to be.
For consistency's sake, we did this.
No.
But we did it wrong last.
Right, I think it's not,
1 second.
legally, I don't know if he need to be leaving the space.
We will ask.
We need to get
We'll
an
ask-
attorney's opinion.
Excuse me, we'll ask Ms. Erdely to come up and give her thoughts legally on that. And please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Susan Erdely. I have been retained to provide you with legal advice regarding employment matters. So I'm not advising you on matters involving the appropriateness of whether Mr. Bell stays or goes. I don't know what that is all about, frankly.
Okay,
I don't have any problem with him staying, but
that's fine.
Well,
Yes.
and I'll state the reason of me asking the commission. That was something that we did last time, and if it was not friendly, I don't have a problem with it, but fair and consistency, that's the only reason. If he wished not to be removed, that's perfectly fine. But again, just with keeping in what we've done last time, we did not have legal present the last time, so if it was done improper, thank you for the correction. But again, I wanted to bring that forth because that was what happened or transpired last time. So if he does not wish to be removed, I'm perfectly fine with that as well. But I was just trying to keep with what happened on our last meeting. But again, if that is not friendly to hit the request, I'm perfectly fine. Let's roll.
Okay. With that said, is that the will of the commission for Mr. Bell to stay this time? I think everybody's fine with that and we'll move on. Ms. Commissioner McCaskill? Pass the phone.
So I'm gonna, we have a motion on the floor, right? A resolution, what did Sunny just read? Tell me, I wanna, did we we had conversation about retaining them the last time? Am I right?
We did have a
Okay.
conversation.
And what was the direction of the commission the
We
last time?
basically tabled everything because we didn't have legal.
That was part of,
advice.
okay.
Yes.
All right, so I don't know if it's, and also in the last meeting, Commissioner Campbell asked me to provide a summary of the conversations that were brought to me and make contact with our employment attorney and move these items forward. So what I did, rather than providing a summary, I reached back out to the employees and asked if they were willing to write statements because I felt that it would be best coming from them versus a summary. I advised them that I would be bringing those statements back to the commission on our next commission meeting. I didn't know that we will be calling a special meeting today. So the statements that we have that were brought in, I have them available. Before I get there, I did get 2 emails from an employee who has identified herself. And I do have copies of those that I would like to provide to the commission, please, as well as our employment attorney. If I can get these to the commission,
May I approach?
thank you. Is
Thank
that
you.
okay?
Yes.
Now, as I continue on, I want to ask, is it possible, Madam Mayor, that we have a recess to kind of read over these, please? The attorney has a copy of the statements. Well, the attorney is kind of debriefed on what's going on and she's ready to kind of give us some guidance. But the reason these are open, you'll see where I'm going. These are open because they were sent to me and that the person identified themselves. These are statements that I just received on tonight in the commission room. I have no idea who turned these in. These are statements from the employees. They're sealed and they were brought in. So if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
can these seals be broken? And we have these copied by our city clerk and provided to the commission.
Ms. Krantz, go ahead.
Before, I did ask for guidance in this process because I wanted it to be fair. Again, I don't know which ones turned these in. They were very concerned about turning them in and making sure that they were kept confidential so that they wouldn't have any repercussions for their actions. Did you say this was okay?
Yes. Commissioner Campbell?
I want to be very sensitive in addressing this, but the matter that's before us are 2 items, which is discussion and direction with regards to the execution of the retainer agreement with the firm that's been provided. And then we have an option to discuss the resolution authorizing the extension of Mr. Bell's contract. The matters that have been provided before us is new with respect to those who have submitted it. I want to be on track, that we're accepting this at the appropriate time. We have documents that we're asking to be open in a public meeting. I don't know if this needs to be accepted as an emergency item because of what's being presented to us. But I want to make sure as we proceed through this meeting that we are following the proper protocol and that we are not doing anything that could conscrew the conversation that we're set here to have at this present moment. So again, I'm very much sensitive to what we have and what's about to happen. However, I want to make sure that as we progress, that we're progressing in a manner that is appropriate and that we discuss, even if this needs to become an emergency item, that is done at the appropriate time, because at this meeting, what has been publicized is direction and discussion with two particular matters that have been tabled to, it wasn't a time certain, but the special call meeting was was called. But again, as we proceed, I want to be able to proceed accordingly and properly.
Ms. Early, in terms of this, could you please kind of answer the question and adding it as an emergency motion versus discussion about this now?
Well, my understanding is that you all had a meeting on July 25th, and in that meeting, there was a discussion about what are these concerns with Mr. Bell? One of the challenges that you all have, and is that you have one employee who reports to you, Mr. Bell. And one of the challenges for Mr. Bell is that he reports to a public body, and you can only discuss his performance, his concerns, et cetera, in a public meeting. That's just the very public nature of transparency in government in Florida. So these complaints that were brought to you, it's my understanding that the employees were not comfortable bringing them to HR, and that wouldn't make sense. Ordinarily, if there's a problem in employment, an employee will bring their complaint to HR, and the HR person will address those concerns and take them up the chain of command. But here, HR reports to Mr. Bell. HR is not in a position to conduct any investigation into actions of Mr. Bell. My understanding is that these complaints, and I realize you all asked for these before, the complainants were not comfortable coming forward because they were in fear that Mr. Bell would terminate them. They're in fear of retaliation. So what you have in this situation is you've got 5 employees that you've already lost in this city. You've got other employees that are submitting concerns and complaints. And we have recommended that you hire a firm to investigate these concerns. That firm can address these concerns with the employees. They would then go to Mr. Bell and hear from him as to what his side of the story is. That way, everybody's rights would be protected. And you, as the commission, would have the information that you need to make decisions on whether Mr. Bell is doing a fine job, whether he needs to improve in certain areas. Are you going to lose more employees? Are you concerned about those things? You've lost 5 so far. Some of them have said that part of the reason they left was because of the new city manager. And so my understanding is at the last meeting, you wanted to know more about what these concerns are. And I think you've been given, I just am seeing these for the first time myself, what the concerns are. So at this point, you need to either decide whether you're going to retain this firm to do an investigation, or what you're going to do.
That answered my question, yet it did not answer my question because I was asking more specifically with regards to the information and the sensitivity of the information, giving us the opportunity. Yes, we've been provided with the additional information in this platform, and even in the event that we do take a recess, that it gives us the ability to inquire if there's anything that we need to inquire about, or potentially meet with those said individuals that have represented us. And then again, just to take it to the next level, I'm a tad bit concerned that we're bringing additional information to a meeting to discuss the potential investigation of the city manager, and then we're being provided in a meeting where the information, I don't think that is okay. Because again, if we are going into speaking about the alleged environment, Mr. Bell is present. So it doesn't give us the ability to keep those employees safe, for lack of better words. So that's the reason why I'm wanting to make sure that the method as we move forth is okay, because again, those now become one, public record, and two, those employees are now exposed. So in making sure that we stick to what we are here for, are we to address those matters first, as you stated, with making sure that we talk about retaining or whoever it is that we wish to retain, and then the extension, and then going into accepting these matters as an emergency item, wherein after we've discussed it, we then can ask Mr. Bell to leave the room. I don't think that will be against anything, because we are then going into some very sensitive a very sensitive matter. So I want to make sure as we go through that we're going through and thinking about our employees, but also thinking about who we have here in the room and the potential of what can come as a result of us now receiving. Prior to, this was my original request. My original request was to be provided with this additional information. Then when we spoke more, we talked about the sensitivity and we talked about the protection, hence the reason why then I came back and said, just give us a high level abstract as to what are some of the concerns. So the change is a change that we know about once we got here. And if that's the way we trusted Commissioner McCaskill to lead, and that's the way that she desired, I have nothing against that. But in the platform of where we are, I want to make sure that, again, we are fair and we are concise when it comes down to this additional information and the method that it came to us and into the platform in which it came to us. That's my concern. Of course, it still has to be addressed. It still needs to be talked about. But then again, let's just consider the method in which it came to us.
Commissioner Jones, no. Commissioner McCaskill?
Were you first?
No, you were.
Okay.
You first.
You asked for a summary of my words of what the employees were saying. I provided the commission with a summary, and it wasn't enough. And I tried to do it in a manner to protect the employees. So I approached the employees, nothing new, nothing different, and asked them if they were willing to come forth with a statement. So I felt that their statements, their words were more substantiated or substantial, would provide substance to versus a summary. It's their words. The employees felt comfortable, and they feel comfortable with this going into record. I think they're anonymous. They were willing to write it and write their statements anonymously. So they're fine with it, and this is how they would like for it to be done. I did receive guidance for the employment attorney, if she would like to speak, however you call it.
Okay, I'll let Commissioner Borum go first, and then we'll go back to Ms. Evelyn.
I agree with Commissioner Campbell on the manner and the way the information has been presented. I don't think that it should be presented in this meeting because it was supposed to be information that the commission should be apprised to before it hit the general public. We need to at least know, I know in the past, again, like I've spoken to you, Ms. Early, and I've said numerous times before that generally when employees have issues or concern in the workplace, there are statements made, written prior to with whatever accusations there may be with dates, times as to when instances happened. But if, not giving any specific details, that, just makes me uncomfortable with even accepting, even moving forward with selecting a firm, because again, I like to have the information prior to, with the statements prior to. Now we're just getting new things generated to us just now, all of a sudden. So I just have an issue and concern with that. And again, we need to stay to the two topics that we had tonight, and we can capture the information, the additional information that we have, and the commission can look it over and see what, we need to move forward with as it relates to that new information.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Go
Two
ahead,
questions.
Commissioner Pascal.
Do grievances have to be oral or written? And if you can answer the question, if this needs to be added as an emergency item?
Ms. Early? Or Ms. West?
Be verbal or.
And in regards to added as an emergency item, we did, again, the request was made at this last special call meeting for this abstract. Personally, I thought it was risky and could taint the investigation, but that was the consensus of the group. And so now we have to wait. I'm not clear on why. Do we need to have an emergency item to add it to the agenda to go forward?
As the commissioners know, I was not here at the last meeting. My understanding was primarily Commissioner Campbell, you had asked for written statements.
No.
And I believe that this is in response to that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I was not here.
So-
That is my understanding, and that is what resulted in this.
I want to be clear, and I don't want to appear as if we're going back and forth or we're in a disagreement of any sorts. I believe that this matter is a very sensitive matter and it needs to be handled with caution. And I believe that we've had healthy dialogue as a result of, hence the reason why we postponed it, because we did not have that representation. But again, I think that as we move forward, giving the manner, I want to be clear that with given the information, you don't even have the information that would allow, we just got the information. So I'm a tad bit apprehensive to move forward with you just receiving information, we just receiving information, and us being able to make the best decision based on that information that we just received. I did ask for some type of summary
That's
because in the event, it appeared at that time, and I'm just speaking on appearance. And I'm not the only one that felt that way. I've had people who watched the meeting at that time. When we first got the information or we first got the request, it appeared to be one person. As we progressed, it appeared to be an additional person, in which that additional person whom we thought or could be considered, could have been considered, stated otherwise. So then again, that's where I made the request so that it's clear what are we dealing with, so that we know in the scope of us hiring a firm that we're covering all of our bases and that we're covering all of those who wish to come forth with statements. Again, I'm very sensitive to this matter. I take it very seriously, So as we progress, I want us to be able to progress with as much as information, because again, if we say we want to move forward with the execution of the contract, and there are things that are part of the contract with the firm that is not a part of the scope, that we wish to have a part of the scope, then we do ourselves an injustice, because again, we were just provided additional information, and you, as the labor attorney, I feel that you should be privy to the concern, so that in the event that we do ask questions, we don't have to be postponed, or we don't have to say, allow me the opportunity to look into that if that is going to be the case. We're going into a recess. We had the request for a recess so that we can provide the information. There's no telling what's in those letters. So again, I want to make sure when I ask for the abstract, I ask for the abstract so that we would be able to wrap our minds around some of the accusations that come versus the verbal, or if it's written. But there is also, when we're dealing with our hierarchy of protocol, if there is a written grievance that is to go to whomever, at this person, it's to go to their supervisor. And if it came to the supervisor, which could be any one of the commissioners, then there's a duty of that person to do an investigation and provide us with something of substance that we're able to go after. I asked the information, were there any procedures and policies? There are not. That's our flaw. That's something that we have to correct. But in order for us to handle this properly without necessary procedures in place, we have to be cautious as we moving forward, so that we cross our T's, that we dot our I's. Yes, again, I did ask for an abstract, and that was the census of the commission at that time. But again, if Commissioner McCaskill, who we deem to be the person that allows to take the stance, change, I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay is receiving the information in this platform, in this meeting, where we came here thinking we were going to discuss two items only. My request was, or after the request that was made by Commissioner McCaskill for that to be opened, and that's where my concerns are. And I don't believe that we are doing justice to those who have provided us the information, not giving us the opportunity to really sit down or to call. I received a call today from an employee. I received that call today. So that information that was provided was not provided to any of the other commissioners. So if that person is one of those individuals, we should have a courtesy to allowing all of us to try to align, get on the same page, so that if we do have any questions that's formulated or anything of that nature, that we're able to do our own independent inquiries of employees, even if it means that we need to set aside a time to talk to you, as Commissioner McCaskill has done. So I think that's a courtesy that we should have, which doesn't take away from the discussion of the A and B topic that we tabled. We tabled those things to give consideration for us to have legal counsel here to help gauge and direct the conversation.
Commissioner McCaskill.
I'm just going to respond to a couple of things. The initial investigation was when I reached out to the firm, and you all gave me directions to reach out to the firm. I gave them a summary, which they developed a scope, and they provided a scope and a cost associated with it, a scope and fee. And the purpose of the investigation, when I said and brought the information to the commission, was so that we could be fair and impartial to both parties, fair and impartial to Mr. Bell as well as the employees, and let the firm do the fact finding. I don't think it's decent and in order for us to do any fact finding. So that's all I want to say to that. And if we ask the employment attorney to come I don't see where we really, are we looking for guidance, or do we have her here to provide her? What's the purpose of her being here?
We're
'Cause
being confused. I think we're confusing where I'm going or what I'm trying. I'm trying to clearly focus on,
I understand.
so
I understand, wait a minute, I understand. I responded to the summary you asked for. I provided the summary to the firm so that we can be fair and impartial to both parties. I responded and let them do the fact finding if we were to go that route. Now, anything that you have to say as far as because it was so much.
it was because I think we're confusing what we're here for versus what we've been presented.
Well, you
It
did
ma-
ask if we can add it as an emergency item, am I
That's,
right?
and I never got the answer to.
Okay, so.
So again, that's what I wanted to make sure. And I said that from the very beginning, as we progress, making sure that we progress in the best manner to protect all parties involved. That's what I wanted to get to. And I said that from the very beginning, once I opened my mouth. And again, this is what we do often. We start doing the back and forth and we lose the focus. Whereas I was trying to separate what was published, what we're here for versus what we got once we're here.
So the question remains, after we go through A and B, can another emergency item be added to address what was brought forth by Commissioner McCaskill?
You can do that now. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was just the question. Whenever we do it, that was the question. Okay, thank you. And my question is this firm still available and willing to do this investigation should we want to move forward?
And I emailed them. I don't know if Commissioner McCaskill has spoken with them. I emailed them today to ask them that question. And I have not received a response. I know that at one point we were trying to get this done before Mr. Bell's probationary period expired. It expires tomorrow, I believe. And we did ask Mr. Bell if he was inclined to agree to an extension. The word I've gotten is the answer is no, which he has the right to do. And so you still have the situation where you've got employees who are in fear for whatever reason. You have a firm that has indicated they put some work into their retainer agreement. And that's a decision that you all need to make. I don't think it's safe at all for commissioners to do the fact finding and investigation. You are a policy setting board. You do supervise one individual. One of the problems that you all are having here is your structure is a little bit unhealthy. In most commissions, you have two employees. You have a city attorney and city manager who reports to you. And that would provide you with some relief where the city attorney could tell you what the concerns were. But he or she reports to your city manager. And if the city attorney was badly behaved or there were concerns with her in a situation where two people reported to you, the city manager could share that with you and you could address it in an easier fashion. And I know you're looking at charter amendments and hopefully that would be one suggestion.
I have a question.
Sure.
With all things considered, one thing we haven't mentioned is Mr. Bell is also an employee and he's our employee. So how are we gonna actually make certain that he's treated fairly as well in this process? I haven't seen nothing but these two pieces of paper so far. And I want to ask that question before we get into whatever that is. It's very important that when you start talking about fair, that he's one of our employees included in this. So
Yes.
to ask the question of how should we really proceed? And I think that more importantly than getting it, I don't want to say more importantly, but we have to take in consideration how we're gonna address that part. And we can't ask our city attorney.
You can ask me.
Asking that question at this time. Also, it goes in line with, if you're accused, you have the right to know who your accusers are. And if I don't think that he should be step outside of this when it's topic of the conversation. I don't know about how much protection other than with the whistleblower, but I would think that would have went a different route, as I stated in the last meeting, that they could have went to EEOC, independent entity to investigate claims such as these. Okay, so they could have done two things: looked at these complaints and said it meets the criteria or it don't, and it wouldn't cost the city a dime. But we're talking about upwards of $30,000 for a firm to look at it and may come up with the same answer. It doesn't meet the criteria, or it does, but we're gonna be out of upwards of $30,000. Could be potential.
Not sure the complaints are discrimination complaints, but
That's the work environment.
hostile work environment certainly sounds like discrimination is in the background somewhere. But the challenge with the EEOC is they could sit on it for a year or two. And in the meantime, you're losing employees, and maybe employees' rights are being violated. And frankly, it leaves everybody in limbo. I concur with Commissioner Jones with your comment about the fairness is required to be done towards all involved. And to answer that question, the investigators will make sure that happens, because they would ordinarily what they would do. I know you used to be a law enforcement officer, but law enforcement officers have the right to know what they're charged with.
Right.
And the typical procedure is the investigators would speak to witnesses, probably find other witnesses, and gather all the information, and then meet with Mr. Bell and share with him what they're looking at, and he would have an opportunity to be heard as well in response, and then they would perhaps go back to the complainant. The reality is you're losing employees. You've got employees who are scared to submit their statements until after 5 p.m. I don't know if that's fair to Mr. Bell or not. I know that's what you've got here. And you are the supervisor of the city manager. And you need someone to look into this, and it shouldn't be you. My recommendation is that you have an independent firm conduct the investigation and see what you have.
And I think the sooner the better, in fairness to Mr. Bell, as well as all the employees. We don't want to have this cloud of sorts hanging, which it is right now. This needs to be resolved. And the only way to resolve it is to have somebody independent from the city do an investigation. Go ahead, Commissioner.
My question is, I mean, we're tagging, or their statements being made that the people that left was leaving because of Mr. Bell. And how do we know that's true?
That's my understanding, that some of them have left for that reason. I don't know that
I know
that's,
we said 5 people who recently left because of Mr. Bell. That's what the comment that was made. And there could be more.
and there could be more.
Mr. Bell been here since February
Right.
9th. And so since that time, I think if he, I'm not going to get into the personal piece of it, but anyway, I just think there's a little bit of concern as it relates to pinning all of these to Mr. Bell without having all the facts.
And that's what the investigation is designed to provide you, are the facts.
And do we have a policy in place, HR? Do we have a policy for no retaliation policy? Okay. Okay.
We also have a policy for resignation or discharge.
Yes, and we have had individuals who have left the city who, so I won't get into the details of any people some of the people who have left, but we'll just keep it at that. But we do have policies in place to address those issues as it relates to any retaliation.
And this is my last piece on this. If we received these documents, one was to HR and one was a response from HR and one was from the complainant. And as I look through this very briefly, actually the complainant actually was trying to have a resolution to this. So, she offered up a resolution in which she said that if we could work through it. So I don't think it's a lot of malice. I think there was an opportunity that was just clearly missed. May have snowballed from there, but with just these two pieces of paper, I think that's where it went. And I think that there was an attempt to patch up whatever differences that was. So again, we go from this to a $30,000 bill that we could have probably resolved it in-house. Probably not an investigation as you guys saying, but I mean, because truthfully, if you ask me right now, if I'm willing to spend the taxpayers' dollars to do an investigation on this, it would be no. Now you better show me something different to change my mind, because the employee actually wanted to make mention, and she asked questions in here that clearly just wasn't answered. Unless there's some more to go along with this. Is it?
Commissioner McCaskill.
The employee is in here if and
Yes,
identified, I mean, is it,
Again, we're,
okay,
and I think
I
we're
mean,
not to that. My
it's
point
already
is we're
in
gonna
record.
get back to
But
the
we
agenda.
are. The agenda says, are we gonna vote to make this happen and
So
spend
we
this
gotta-
money? So I'm, without substance, what are we
Excuse
gonna
me,
do?
we did vote to have an investigation done previously. We already did approve that.
But not for this money.
What do you mean from what manner? An investigation of,
We all agreed to do the investigation. However, we did not agree to utilize this firm as the individual.
no, we did not.
Given to the respect, Ms. McCaskill did say she reached out to additional people, and she also offered us to give give recommendations as well.
Right.
I made a recommendation for the Department of Ethics or whoever, but again, with regards to this specific firm, that's what we're voting on.
Correct. But we did agree to an investigation, whether it's this firm or not. Commissioner McCaskill?
once this was submitted to Sunny, this will be public record, am I right? And the employee has identified herself, so it'll be
It's
to
a
the
public
public
record, it's a
anyway.
handout of this meeting.
And I think that the questions should be answered as to how this process went. It does answer a question, I think it indicated, in the last meeting, there were no grievances filed, and I think this was in response to one, and maybe, I don't know how the process went, but since it's already submitted to Sunny, it's gonna be public record. The employee has identified herself. If she's fine with responding, so we can at least get those answered, that would be what I would ask for,
So.
if that's proper. Is that proper, Miss? Because it will be public record.
That's fine.
The employee has identified herself.
Once again, do we accept this as an emergency item in order to properly be able to discuss the matter beforehand? Because again, we're here at this meeting for two items, which is to determine if we're going to use the firm to move forward with the investigation. And item B is if the city manager is going to accept the request for an extension.
Motion to add as an emergency item for purposes of making that decision.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, the motion has died.
I feel we need to address the matters at hand. And then that's why I asked at the beginning of the meeting, the proper place to put it so that we can properly discuss and move forward with the resolution.
So let's go back
If
to
there's
A.
opportunity, I second that motion.
At this point, can we move forward in that direction since it seems to have died initially?
For clarification, Commissioner Jones, did you second Commissioner McCaskill's original motion?
Yes,
You have a motion on the floor.
No, we don't. It died. So another motion would have to be made.
Yeah,
Okay, please
For
make another motion.
reconsideration.
Please make another motion.
it can't come from the same person.
I understand that, please.
Jones. Do you want to add it, Jones?
I actually was doing it for the sake of discussion. You can pass the gavel if you like, Mayor.
I make,
Commissioner Boyle.
You go ahead. That's fine.
Somebody take the
Everybody wants
gavel.
I make a motion to add this as an emergency item for the discussion on the specific anonymous concerns and complaints.
Motion been made,
Second.
second. Okay, motion been made, properly second.
All in favor, you're supposed to do the all in favor thing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right.
Who's
You know-
opposing?
The motion to, again, I want to make sure. Y'all, and I'm not trying to drag it out. Where are we accepting? Are we accepting this to talk about it now? I said earlier that we get through the business of this and then allow us to get into what's being presented to us.
I think that,
understand You said that Commissioner Jones was bringing it up as in part of the discussion to make a decision about A.
yes,
And
I
so
think that
that's why it came
having
up
that,
again.
yes, I think that having that discussion at the
Right.
front will help us make the decision whether or not we want to retain the firm.
Just for discussion purposes.
And with that
Well,
said,
I think Commissioner Campbell was saying that that could have happened during the time that we were talking about the specific item. I think that's where you were going.
Let's just move forward because it's.
we're just
We're-
gonna.
Yeah, because it could have happened at the item or whatever. So, okay.
I'm sorry, commissioners, I am not following you at all.
Well,
I don't think
okay,
anybody is at
let
this
me,
point,
let me,
to be
let me,
frank.
let me finish up. Okay, you're not following, but what the confusing part was that when Commissioner McCaskill made her motion for the, to move forward with the firm, that triggered item 1. So that's what Commissioner Campbell was talking about. So there's the confusion. So
No,
I just circle back around, and say that could have happened at item 1 based on what Commissioner Campbell was saying.
Sorry. that's Where exactly are we here?
So we
So that-
have added an emergency item to discuss, and it was approved, a motion to discuss the complaints, concerns raised by staff anonymously and otherwise. And that was the emergency item added to the agenda. And that
So
was,
you are skipping regular business 3A?
that is the concern of everybody, but because when Commissioner Jones was speaking, he didn't feel he could get to A without discussing these. And so we've just gone in kind of a big circle. I have an issue with it too. I think it should be last, but here we are. So I don't, at this point, it is confusing.
Because let me, it's been approved, we're in discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Discussion is, in short, if we talk about these two, in the event that Mr. Bale is not friendly to the extension, we have a decision to make, one way or another, regardless
Mhm.
of what information is presented to us through what has been provided at the beginning of this meeting.
That's clear cut. That's clear cut now.
So that's why I wanted to have the discussion about the items presented.
Okay.
I
That's
agree.
clear cut.
It means nothing if you sit here and Mr. Bell say,
Okay.
I don't care what's being presented, I'm not friendly to the extension.
Okay.
That to me is the most important part of
I
this
agree.
meeting,
Oh.
because again, if he's
Okay.
not friendly to the extension, we as a commission
Have to make a decision.
Decision to make,
Yeah.
Okay.
one way or another.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to boom, 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 and not destroy this. Destroy may not be the right word, but I didn't want to,
Bring out people's confidentiality and
not even that, I did not want the meeting to be hijacked by
Well put.
something that would, if we move forward and handle it at an appropriate time, that was the time to do it, which, again, I said it at the end of the meeting. But those two things that are before us are the two most pressing at this moment. In order for us to make a decision, but B is more pressing to
Yes.
me than A is.
That makes much more sense. Yes.
Perhaps you would like to consider entertaining a motion to
Modify the agenda.
Yes.
Be
And then
for
A.
discussion and direction for agenda.
So who would like to make a motion to adjust the?
I make a motion that we, Attorney West, help me again.
You're gonna
Modify-
be,
Modify
I
the
make a
agenda.
motion that we modify the agenda, bringing item B for our main point of discussion.
Yes.
And allowing everything else to fall in place.
We have a motion on the floor.
second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
But-
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Did you vote?
Can you clarify who has the gavel?
I have the gavel right now. It came back to me after the last, yes. So with that said, we're on to B, discussion direction resolution 2024 R154.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If he wants, if he's friendly.
Can we read the resolution, please?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2024-R154, a resolution of the City of Palaca, Florida, authorizing the execution of an addendum to the employment contract with Daryl LaTroy Bell, as city manager of the City of Palaca, providing for scrivener's errors and providing for effective date and then providing for scrivener's errors.
So moved.
Oh, we don't.
No, we don't have to.
Okay.
No, it's, the question lies with Mr. Bell
Okay.
as to whether he would. Mr. Lee, would you like to explain it any further, or Mr. Bell, would you like to respond?
So Mr. Bell's been asked whether he would extend a provision of his contract, which would extend his probationary period. Under the contract that the commission and Mr. Bell entered into, any changes to that contract must be agreed upon by both parties. The question was asked of Mr. Bell, would you agree to extend your probationary period? What does that mean? That means that if Mr. Bell is ultimately terminated, he would not receive the 10 weeks of severance agreement. And the number, I believe, is between $70,000 and $80,000. You don't know what this investigation is going to reveal. If it does reveal something that you think termination is appropriate, it would be helpful to the public dollar if you don't have to pay your city manager the severance agreement. He has the right to say no, and he has the right to say yes. So I have asked him if he would be willing to do that. He has never answered directly to me, but I got word today that you are not inclined to do that. Is that correct, Mr. Bell?
So I don't mean any disrespect, but I am concerned by the statement that you got wind of or heard today when there was no direct conversation with me. So at this point, I believe one of the areas that was left out in the discussion of the contract is that if, and Commissioner Campbell read that in the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken, that if there was something that came available, that came to the commission that involved criminal or illegal activity, then I would be terminated without severance. So that provision is already in the contract. So I think the comment that was made that the city would not have to pay with this investigation is a moot point, because if the investigation did show something, which I doubt it will, but if it did show something that involved criminal behavior, then I would not receive severance. So if the question is put to me as to whether or not I am willing to extend the severance, extend the probationary period, my answer would be no, I'm not willing to extend the probationary period. After seeking counsel on this, after conversations with my family, with various employees, the city is at a point now, and I'm sure all of you are aware of that we need to move forward. The probation issue is an element of instability that I think affects the organization, affects the city, affects the staff as well. Probation is not something, according to my conversations with the Florida League of Cities, that is considered in the majority of contracts across the state, just for that exact reason, that it creates the potential for instability. So having all those things considered, I am not of the mind to extend the probation. I have a contract. It was agreed upon, and I think we should move forward.
And I would like to say that I would beg to differ with you, Mr. Bell. Probationary periods are routinely in city manager contracts. The other thing I would beg to differ with you on is that the language in the agreement that you both signed and agreed to has a lot of different situations by which your position could be terminated without having to pay the severance. But I think the language of the contract is very convoluted and would encourage litigation. And so the cleanest way is if you would agree to an extension, if you're not concerned about the results of the investigation, then you're not going to lose any rights. So
Well, I mean, you begged to differ, and I did have those conversations with the Florida League of Cities. I did speak with several recruiters and the
who did you speak with, sir?
All stuff be directed to us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
did speak to several recruiters, and they are willing to be present at the Thursday meeting, who had done over 240 recruitments across the state of Florida. And this is an issue that has not been contemplated in any of those contracts across the state of Florida. I also spoke with the Rough Riders or the advisors, and the advisors from Florida League of Cities said the same thing. But all of that said, it still comes down to the fact and to the point that I am not willing to be friendly to the idea of extending the probation. And I don't want to go back and forth with Ms. Early about the information that was provided to me, because at the end of the day, considering the staff, the city, citizens, and my family, and the conversation that I had, and seeking counsel, it does not make sense for me to move forward with extending my probation.
Ms. Early, you are saying though, these situations have happened where contracts have been extended.
Yes, you can both agree to extend it. You've got one party who will not. So there's your answer.
Make a decision about which direction we want to go forward with this information. And to me, again, this is my opinion, it's you that is living this, but in order to clear your name as well as clear the air in the city, I would think it would behoove you to extend it so this investigation can happen and the information can be found out as to whether it's factual or not. And here we have, so I just am concerned. Go ahead, Commissioner Moore.
But can the investigation continue on with or without him
course it can.
extending
Of
this?
course it can, but at the risk of severance pay having to be paid out if there are issues that come to light.
Right, but again, he did enter into a contract with the city.
Understand that.
The probationary period is up. And so that's the dilemma. I mean, again, he has every right to say, hey, I
He
don't want
does.
to keep pushing my time out. I mean, that's
He does
just
have
his,
every right, you're right.
right. And I don't know if we should be forcing, even continue to press him to extend.
Commissioner McCaskill?
I think that's an important matter you brought up. One thing that I think Commissioner Campbell brought up in the last meeting is that even if he did continue make it past his probationary period, that an investigation still can be conducted for the sake of being fair and impartial to both parties and looking into the issues.
Commissioner Campbell, Commissioner Jones?
I've said a lot.
And how do we want to move forward?
Madam Mayor, you called this meeting
I called it as a continuation of a meeting that we had previously that we tabled because we did not have legal representation.
But Mayor, we also tabled it to provide that information, but we were looking forward to having this discussion at our next commission meeting.
Okay, and we are also responsible for tax dollars. And again, I did call the meeting thinking that we wanted to have some answers to these questions prior to that period of time ending. Or request an extension, which Mr. Bell rightfully has said no thank you to. Ms. Commissioner McCaskill?
It's kind of thinking about the recommendation of the attorney, and she did say remind us to be friendly and mindful of taxpayers' dollars. But I'm gonna say the same thing. If he can continue his employment and an investigation is conducted, we're putting the price tag again on it. If something is found, we do have a right to terminate. It's in our hands and it may cost, but we got to make a decision tonight, which direction we're going in.
I agree, but I also think that we need to take in consideration some of the dialogue that transpired at the beginning of our conversation, which only was reiterated with the hearsay that was received by the attorney with regards to a possibility of, there were two citizens specifically that stood before the commission and brought forth the matter of if the investigation would be flawed as a result of getting a recommendation from our labor attorney with regards to being fair and concise. I also drew concerns of Attorney Elderly going directly to Mr. Bell instead of through the commission. And then today we hear statements to an assumption. How did that assumption get to her? By whom had the conversation with her? If it did not come from anyone on this dais, it shouldn't have come from anyone with regards to a yay, a nay, or possibility. Possibility, I know what it is. I was just trying to. But I think that is of great importance that as we proceed forward, that the level of transparency that I always speak about is there. And again, I'm gonna ask the question, did anyone on the dais have the conversation with Attorney Elderly that there was a possibility that the answer would be no to Mr. Bell's extension?
I don't know who informed her.
I didn't have a conversation with her. I did speak with her last week. I spoke with her, but nothing to say anything about.
I've spoken to Ms. Elderly as well, but I had no idea because I certainly haven't talked to Mr. Bell about it, so I would not know what direction he was going in, so I could not.
Point proven, there's a flaw.
Well, all that said, I also sat as a citizen when several city managers were terminated in the past without any real reason or rationale given to the community. I'm not saying that's the case here, but I think everything tends to be flawed when humans get involved. That's why we wanted a third
Well,
party to do this investigation.
Mayor, we've
So we
said,
need your third party.
Mayor, I sat on the dais when those decisions were made.
Yep.
Half of the decisions that were made with previous city managers, I made them. So I understand you sitting on the side of a citizen, but I sat on the side as an elected official who has a job to govern our employee. But then again, we do have to take in consideration that if there have been conversations that have gotten back to someone that is supposed to provide us guidance, and it did not come from anyone that sit on this commission, that there is a flaw somewhere. And it's our determination that we act accordingly, knowing that there have been some information that has been talked about that did not come from anyone that has to make the determination or the decision with regards to Mr. Bell's employment. That is not fair to Mr. Bell. It's not professional to this commission. And we have a duty to address that as well. But in this given platform, we're talking about Mr. Bell, who has, in fact, stated that he would not be friendly to moving forward with the extension of his employment. It's been clearly laid out in his signed and executed contract that if anything was to come back in this investigation, and I made sure that I read that, my meeting was hijacked with regards to some stuff, but again, I wanted to make sure that we stick to the language in the contract. So if there is anything to come back on Mr. Bell, it's clearly stated that we as a commission have a decision, like we as a commission have a decision right now to say if we're going to move forward or if we're not going to move forward. That's why I wanted to make sure that when we have information provided to us, it was provided us in a time where it is makes sense. At this moment, what do we
Thank you.
as a commission
Thank
want to do with regards to the response that came from Mr. Bell stating that he is not friendly to the to the extension of his contract? Probationary, well,
Period.
to his probationary period
That's what I
of
want.
his contract. And again, I believe that Mayor, it was brought to the attention by Commissioner Jones that you were the one who called for the meeting. And so there may have been something that we may have missed. And if that's the opportunity for you to bring it to our attention, if not, I prefer to go home and be with my family and allow Mr. Bell to continue to do what it is that he has to do. And we do what we have to do until a time certain. Of course, if we want to bring this, we have talked about bringing the matter up with regards to those who provided us information. I don't believe that Mr. Bell has to be here for it. And that will give us the opportunity to have that discussion if we so do wish to have so tonight.
Commissioner McCaskill.
So,
your
good with
decisions.
D, but I think we should finish the agenda out as far as that's related, and he doesn't have to be here, like you said. for the rest of the
Absolutely.
meeting. Yes. So,
So in this
Where
case,
be?
we're going to the emergency agenda item that was added to look at this information and take a recess. Is that what you're requesting?
making sure that we finish the agenda out.
Well, we haven't. We haven't.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to, I gave a recommendation. If we're not friendly to the recommendation, we can move forward. But again, we have a decision to
We
make.
do have
For B.
decisions to make.
B,
Right, and so with that said, and when you asked the question of me, I was just following up, calling this meeting based on our last meeting, which we tabled because we did not have legal
But
presence.
Mayor, we have a meeting Thursday.
We do, and it's a full agenda. And so I thought we wanted to finish these topics because they are crucial and critical to the employees and to the city manager. Rather than adding something to an agenda when we know the agenda gets long and people get impatient and want to go home with their families. So here we are on B. And how do we want to move forward?
Do you want to entertain a motion?
And you don't, technically, I don't have to pass the gavel. I want to entertain a motion to terminate Mr. Bell's employment immediately.
You got the gavel?
You got the
You
gavel?
got the periodic
That's a
minute?
motion. We need a second on
Got
that.
a motion, we have a second.
Motion second.
Motion died, lack of second.
So with that said, how do we want to move forward?
As stated, I'll make a motion that we move forward and allow Mr. Bell to continue into the role of city manager and that we move forward with the accepting of the emergency item, which will provide us the opportunity to look into the employees who have brought forth concerns to allow us to properly vet. And I ask that at that time, Mr. Bell exit the premises.
yes.
Mr. Bell, could you please leave and go out the right way? The door to the right, please, so we can go to this item.
Just for thought.
Wait,
Mr.
wait a minute.
Mr.
He's entitled to be
Yeah, he
here.
could be here.
Right.
It's not the, well,
He could go on YouTube.
again, it's my recommendation.
It's a
And if
recommendation.
it's not friendly, Mr. Bell has the ability to
What is
say
the
yay
point
or
of-
nay. And again, I will reserve the motion. He does have the ability to be here, but again, I'm making it, but if that's how we want to continue, it doesn't matter to me at all. But we now know the real reason of why we're here or why we was here.
Do we have, so we have a motion, do we have a second?
That's it. Oh, no, I don't second that.
You don't second.
A second for what?
The
For him to
motion
leave.
from Mr.
I
Bell.
withdraw my motion.
Okay, with that said, Mr. Bell is staying, and I guess we start this process of looking at the information. Are we going to take a brief recess? Okay, let's take a 10-minute recess and come right back. Is that long enough? I'm sorry.
Enough to look at it.
Yeah, enough time.
Because she's gonna have to go out.
And make copies.
Okay,
20 minutes.
20 minutes, please, sorry. From recess, the meeting is going to resume. Ms. Krantz?
Madam Mayor Commission, thank you for resuming from recess for me. I've received a public records request for a copy of the documents I'm about to provide to you.
And
For that reason, I requested that this meeting be called back to order.
Mayor, with all due respect, may we have the city attorney to speak to the records?
Could you please, yes. Ms. Erdley is coming in.
Yes. Of course, thank you. And as I was reminded by our own city manager earlier today, and then also Chief Shaw this evening, there is an exemption to the public records law in the state of Florida if there is an ongoing investigation. It is my understanding at the last meeting that you made a vote for 2 investigations to commence. One against Assistant City Manager Jonathan Griffith and one against City Manager Troy Bell. None of those documents, according to Florida's public records law, are able to be distributed in response to a public records request. And the city manager has confirmed this in the email today, and this was again affirmed by Chief Shaw. So with that, these are documents that are being provided in furtherance of the investigation that you voted on at the previous meeting, and therefore they are not subject to public records request. We respectfully request that you maintain the integrity of the investigation by keeping the documents to yourself and do not distribute them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grant, you want to distribute them, please? Go ahead, Commissioner Castle.
And I want to make a recommendation that once these are distributed, can we table this? Deciding on the law firm, if we're going to retain them or not until Thursday? That way it gives us time to read and review these. Is that okay? Is the commission friendly to that?
That would be my suggestion as well, yes.
Okay. So motion to table.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. And also, can we get a copy of the retaliation policy just so I'll know and just have all these?
Commissioner Borman?
Get
I
some
like that.
clarification on when you are, is this a motion to postpone to a date certain?
Until Thursday's meeting.
Did you get that?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Thank you.
I like to just make a motion based on the current situation and state that we're in right now as it relates to any individuals who are already in the pipeline to report to HR for everyone who has submitted anything. If they don't feel like they should report, if they're not comfortable reporting to the city manager at this time, to make sure that there's no uneasiness or things that's going to cause any further issues within the city to make it a clean pipeline. I think if the city manager would be okay to just send any of his communication through HR to the employees for they can do their work through them, and that way there's no direct contact until this situation is completed. That's just would be my recommendation.
Absolutely.
Can I
Commissioner McCaskill?
ask this? You're saying on his investigation, everything is reported to HR?
That's not what I said.
That's what I'm asking.
What I said for all the employees
Uh-huh.
who have submitted
Yeah.
anything as it relates to any discomfort or anything that will cause them discomfort in the workplace, that they would report to HR and their
Yes.
work
Okay,
would
gotcha.
come from Mr. Bell to HR for them, and they're not reporting to him until after the investigation is over. And that way, everything will be clean and returned back to normal,
Commissioner Campbell?
reporting wise.
Commissioner Campbell?
I'm not understanding that.
They're not reporting to Mr. Bell during the investigation piece. That's
And you're saying they report to HR?
correct.
Okay, and that's why I'm going back to what Mrs. Early recommended. Can you go back to your recommendation regarding that and seeing if she can provide some guidance?
Okay.
Okay.
having employees report to HR, again, HR is a subordinate of the city manager. So that does not protect the employees. Don't know that they need protection, but it certainly doesn't work, and it puts the HR person in a really rough situation too. This is just a challenge of the one employee who reports to your board. And so,
Yes.
the question is, whom should those employees go to fill stay while the investigation is being conducted? I don't know that you have a solution to that unless if you have them report to outside counsel or the investigator once you select an investigator. But Mr. Bell has to be able to run the city in his job. I think he knows not to take any retaliatory action against any employee. That could submit you to some liability, not, the city, you the city.
So question, what is your recommendation? What would be your recommendation as it relates to that? A clean recommendation so that we can do that, so that we're making sure that we're looking out for the employees' best interests.
Thank you. The other option is to outside counsel, but we're expensive. So I would go with somebody who's less expensive.
Well,
Eh.
would you well, what about using a outside HR firm potentially?
Cost.
Yep, that's,
It's much less than it would cost for an attorney, a
believe,
labor attorney, but HR would be somebody who may have been retired or whatever that's running a business on the side, or running their own business as a consultant. They could very well do that for the period of time that we're trying to do this investigation. So I'm just trying to try to get the best alternatives so that we can move the city forward.
This might be a potential solution, but the Florida League of Cities does have potential avenues that may be of assistance. The senior advisors
Right.
and the transitions team might be able to provide.
Absolutely,
That
at no cost.
That
At no
was
cost.
actually, that was actually gonna be my
So-
request.
Okay.
So let's look at moving that way instead of my original request that we would go through the Florida League of Cities and we would solicit their direction and guidance and consultation.
Commissioner Campbell?
In addition to, I want us to take in consideration that we have to be mindful of not creating a hostile environment for Mr. Bell to operate and work in too. While we are trying to protect all of those that report to him, we have to be mindful that he is to our employee and we don't want to create a hostile work environment for him, or a difficult work environment for him to be able to work and carry out the duties of the city. I do believe Commissioner McCaskill made the recommendation that we table this matter until Thursday, which will give 2 days, or really a day, to consult with the Florida League of City in hopes of being able to provide us with some information on Thursday night that would allow us to better gauge how we would like to handle those that have come forward with regards to their concerns, and still be able to allow all to be able to operate in their various capacities and continue to make the city move forward.
All right, so clearly, Commissioner McCaskill will be reaching out to the Florida League of Cities, correct, for
Sure.
this direction? Because since are you gonna?
Are y'all
Well-
still appointing me? I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're the point person in this situation.
We
so I think
we
it
have,
qualifies.
You haven't changed. Okay, I'll reach out to the Florida League of Cities, also the retaliatory policy, if we can all get that as well, just so we'll have that. I need it. Okay. All right.
Okay, and with that said, we did have, after the conversation, a couple of folks that still wanted to come up and have a public opportunity for public comment before we pass out these items, and then, do we have a motion to table, by the way? Do we need a motion? Do we
We
have
have a
it?
motion to postpone time certain.
Yeah,
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We did it.
Passed.
Did
We did it already.
Oh, do we? I spaced out. I'm sorry.
Do we need to do a formal motion to give direction to Commissioner McCaskill, or can we do it by way of consensus?
I think we.
Consensus
I'm
last
just,
time.
just making sure we go, again, we.
Okay. Mr. Spell. Name and address for the record, please, and be respectful and civil. Thank you.
Yes,
3
my
minutes.
name is Jacob Spells. I live at 5019 Creel Avenue. I'm not here to apologize for anything that I'm about to say. I'm not going to disrespect anyone, and I don't expect to be disrespected. But it's time for us to stop living in the 1960s. We live in 2014. The train is at the station. If you don't want to ride, then don't get on. And that's where we are today. Since this man been hired, it's been every rabbit hole in the county. Somebody been pulling something out. It's not fair to him. What you doing? I pointed out before he was hired what was going to happen, and it's happening right up front. He should have done what he should have done. Be these people's boss, not their friends. He ain't gonna never be their friends. And I looked at something happen tonight. Here's somebody bringing some information in 10 minutes before the meeting. No. If somebody having a complaint against him, you got HR, you have 4 commissioners and a mayor. We don't need to be bringing this stuff to the public to help make a decision. You all should make the decision. The public don't know the rules, regulations, and guidelines of how the city business is run. You all know what he should or should not do. Discuss it among yourselves, come to a conclusion, give him a passing grade or failing grade. The public, you don't get the public opinion because you're never going to get that correct. And you're never going to get a true identity and facts because it's going to be somebody next week bring something in against him. There should be a cutoff period somewhere. I mean, let's do the thing right. I mean, you don't legislate right and wrong. It's either right or it's wrong. And you all not being fair to him and the commission should do their job. Hey, let's give this man respect, treat him like a man and a human being, and go from there. Until you do that, you're going to continue to have this commotion, special meetings, all that. You all should be conducting business of the city, not this nonsense that you're going. There was a whole lot of talk here tonight, but wasn't anything said. Nothing. So let's get on the ball and do the right thing. You're not living way back there now. Everything has changed. We're living it today, this moment. And until you do that, this is what you're going to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holly? Please give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I never met Mr. Bell a few minutes ago. I don't know him. I just know what I read in the newspapers.
Could you please give your name and address, though, first?
I live at 610 North Fifth Street, Palatka, Florida. My name is Fred Holly anyway. I may have to go down and introduce myself to start with. But anyway, this investigation, Mr. Bell ain't been here long enough for how an investigation don't look like. Y'all knew his track record before he started. I understand what the paper says. And the things he's done, according to the paper, he should be put out. I think. Of course, what I think don't amount to nothing as far as that goes. But anyway, that's what I think. Mr. Bell, y'all gonna keep him coming downhill. He's gonna be like the other city employees. He's gonna quit. I couldn't blame him for quitting. Y'all bring say things about me and bring me to the meetings and all. And, I think you ought to let Mr. Bell go tonight, because if he's here on a Thursday night, he can say, well, I'm gonna leave and y'all give me my, whatever's coming to me and go. You say, well, if we don't, if we keep him on, we're gonna, if we let him go, we're gonna have to look for another city manager. If Mr. Bell quits, you're gonna have to look for another city manager. And you're gonna be out a lot more money. So just my opinion, that the way things going on, you're gonna make Mr. Bell quit, just like the other city employees quit. And I don't blame them. I'd quit too if they keep bringing things up against me. That's the reason I say they ought to let him go tonight. And if the city wouldn't be out no money, I understand. And we'll look for another city manager. And I thank y'all for listening to me, but like I say, I'm not nothing for that goes, but anyway, that's
Thank
what I
you, Mr.
had to
Brown.
say. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Good night.
Mr. Hunt. With that said, Ms. Krantz, could you share the information you have, please? And then we're going to be tabling.
We have received the information. I asked, oh, we're not done? Oh, my bad, that's all.
No, I didn't think we were done, but.
I thought she did a packet.
Okay, yeah. Wait, there's more. Thank you. To reiterate, these are part of the investigation, are confidential, not to be shared. They're for our eyes only. With that said, do we have any other further?
May I ask a
business?
question?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is Miss Erdley to be provided copy of these?
What is the wish of the commission?
I believe she's our labor attorney. I don't think this is, I think,
She would be considered outside counsel, am I right? And
that's if we decide to utilize.
Well, I'm not going to be doing the investigation, but giving a confidential document to your attorney is no different than you're reading it, because we have confidentiality during the course of the investigation. If you choose not to, that's fine. If there's something in there that I have concerns about, it might be good that you know that.
So what?
so with that being said, do we have a copy for her? Are you all?
I am fine with that as everybody else. Given.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. What does that mean? Okay, I mean, I didn't. hear
I guess we're okay. We're friendly to providing our employment.
copies of these statements? Yes or no? Are we okay with that?
Okay.
Okay. I'll take that as a yes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
No, they don't need a second.
I know. We've been doing second.
Yes.